Hello, you snack of poopies. Welcome back of poopies. My name's Jack, and yep, I'm recycling the same theme from yesterday's video. It's all about creepy people on the internet. What can I say? I found quite a bit that I need to make 2 videos of it for this week. So let's dive in. We're beginning somewhere we haven't been in a bit, in Reddit I Screwed Up. Starting with this creepy little deep dive, which comes with a handy little link to a client's proposal from the OP, who is a writer, of which there is a lot of requests in this little story writing essay, but we'll get to that in a moment. As it begins, titled, "Today I screwed up. I might have interacted with a pedophile. I'm a writer. A few days ago, someone asked me to write a shrinking story. Basically, shrinking stories are a fetish genre where you imagine someone being reduced to the size of an insect and living and interacting with others from that perspective. That's okay, I guess. But what disturbed me about this client is that he wanted a story about a 15-year-old boy shrinking, and then his small brother, 14, taking advantage of this to force him to perform certain disturbing acts. The client wanted this written out in painstaking detail. It was frankly disturbing. This client actually sent me a picture of a young boy. I don't know if it's real or not, maybe AI for inspiration. I feel disturbed by all this. The client claims that this is a hobby, that this won't even be published, which makes it even weirder. So now I'm just wondering, if you are into this sort of stuff, wouldn't you be inclined to live out these fetishes at some point, or am I just overthinking and judging an innocent person over a harmless fantasy? What do I do? Should I reach out to law enforcement? Should I talk to someone? P.S. I have actual conversations and Word document outlines of what he sent me. I'd like to imagine how this OP would be in a 1920s noir thriller series.
If my years as a detective have taught me anything, it's that seeing you crouching at a school playground with your hand in your pants tells me that you are very itchy down there. Luckily for you, I have a cream for that. Here you go.
No, in all seriousness, congrats on meeting a congressman! Hey, that's not fair. Could be a priest. But yes, from more thoughtful opinions, this doesn't seem harmless, especially with a picture involved. I don't know if there's enough to go to the police with, but don't interact with this guy anymore. Of course, the tricky thing about this is, to really go down that path, you kind of need evidence. I know this person says you don't need evidence to go to the police. Yeah, sure, it's their job to prove something. But okay, you tell them that someone sent you a weird story prompt. There's nothing they can really do around that. At best, they can just kind of keep that report on file, so if anything else occurs in the future, then hey, yeah, there's like something to add to it. But what do you think? You think it's kind of pointless to see the police about this, and more worth your time and effort just to kind of block this person and move on? Others say, don't even bother with the local police. Contact the FBI or National Center for Missing or Exploited Children. They will look into it, which makes a lot more sense. Go to the people who actually are charged with trying to track this stuff down. And in good news, it seems the OP is absolutely on board with doing that. But hey, despite the descriptions on the story itself, maybe you are curious what the prompts were exactly. So a lot of it is just a basic outline of a story, some kid wanting his BB gun. Now, if you're someone easily grossed out by weird things, I'll do my best to summarize it safely for YouTube, but yeah. Okay, here we go. Ugh. Essentially, Lucas, the younger brother, finds his older brother a tiny person running around and sticks him onto a Q-tip so he's stuck there. Lucas reveals his bare butt. To which this creep asks the writer to thoroughly describe the rear, the cheeks, the crack, tiny details Aaron would notice, how it moves when Lucas shifts between legs. Again, this is an underage child. God, I don't know if I should really be okay to read the rest of this. The boy rests his right foot on the desk chair and Aaron is given a full view of the boy's, I'm leaving the rest of that censored. I do not need a detail of a child's privates. So, still standing there with his right foot rested on the chair, Lucas hears his phone receive a notification. We don't know from whom yet, but he picks it up to read intensely. The boy also lets out a deep fart. I know it's actually disgusting because someone's getting off to this, but it's such a stupid thing. Describe this particular scene as if we are viewing it from someone behind the boy. Also describe this now from Aaron's perspective on the front, please.
I must know the degree of flatulence, the persistence, the tangy aura that wafts through the air.
Okay, not talking about the private parts here, but still equally disgusting. So Lucas becomes excited as he reads a text from Austin, his other friend, to go play paintball in a couple hours. The boy stands there, lifting his shirt up to rub his bare belly. Describe Lucas's belly in detail. Also describe the boy realizing with no consent at all that the shrink ray could not reverse Aaron. Ask Aaron if he remembered to buy toilet paper. I see we're gonna get a little bit mentally scarred in the first story today.
Oh, hell no.
In a totally relatable situation as a child, describe the boy sitting down in the desk chair, t-shirt resting over his belly, Q-tip still in front of his face as he realizes that if they ever found out, his parents, he'd likely be grounded for life, or even institutionalized. He lets out another fart. Okay, yeah, and this is where we start to really just get into vomit territory. I don't think I'm comfortable reading the rest of this. Putting a lot of just censored boxes all over the rest of this script. Lucas says, they can never find out, as he lowers his brother stuck to a Q-tip and wipes him on the tip of his third leg. Wow. Oh, hell no. Okay, I'll stop with the Sniper Wolf references. Oh my god! Describe Lucas shutting the bathroom door and him sitting on the toilet. Specifically how his butt molds to it and the visual of him sitting there. Oh, right. This is where the foreshadowing of the toilet paper comes in. Oh, no! Oh, okay, the rest of this. Oh, there's gonna be time codes in this, and I'm gonna make a mental note now. If you want to skip this, that you can just go ahead and skip ahead. Oh, god. Remember, people are into this. I know it's wrong to kink shame, but at this point, I kind of... No, I'm sorry, I'm retracting that sort of respect. The boy lets out a hiss of a fart into the toilet bowl as he says something, hoping to finally beat Austin in a match. He shifts his knees in towards each other and then back out. The movement causing... Yeah, okay. Oh no, oh no. Lucas's anus finally starts to slowly open. A solid turd beginning to make its way out. The boy starts contemplating what he can tell his parents about his older brother missing. This should be long and detailed description of all that. Describe the turd as it slides out and describe the anus as well. For God's sake, my man, this isn't a biology class. The boy then says something in frustration as he notices the toilet paper roll only has a single square of paper on it. Describe Aaron's experience of the smell and situation. Lucas rips the one square of toilet paper off, keeping it in hand as he stands up, saying something about how Aaron will regret having bought any. Boy walks back to the room, not having wiped. Ah, so a normal boy then. Describe as the boy lowers the square of toilet paper on the rise of his lower back and right butt cheek. Then describe as he taps the Q-tip so that Aaron falls off onto the peak of the butt cheek. The boy directs Aaron that he will now clean him. No movement from the tiny man yet. A very valid point. If he's gonna give such a wall of text for directives, why doesn't he write the whole thing himself? And what's worse for the OP here? Actually, I have a theory. He was asking about making time to go over the plots and characters with him. An hour, to be precise. I thought he was actually aiming to get satisfaction from the writer describing the events. Damn, that's a weird kink. But then I had an ex who liked being drawn because she got off on people spending unnecessary time and effort on her. She didn't even give a frick about the end product, but she enjoyed the process. Wow. Is that like the healthiest way of exploring your narcissism that I've ever seen? Oh, never mind. Responding to a similar thought of mine. Maybe on paper, but she was a narcissistic mother flipper who only cared about herself, whom I let drag me away from everything and everyone I loved before her. No more friends, family, or hobbies. Pretty much the most toxic and damaging relationship I ever had. Let us cleanse ourselves over to 2 hot takes with a story that has an update. I think my friend is sabotaging my relationships. For starters, I'm a 17 female, and I'm very close with my brothers. 29 male, we'll call him Austin, and his best friend, who's 14 male, we'll call him Dean. I consider Dean, the 40-year-old, one of my best friends, and we bonded pretty quick after he moved in with my brother and I, almost 2 years ago. Can you guess which one of them is sabotaging this OP's relationships? Originally, when I first met Dean, I was dating a boy who ended up cheating on me 2 weeks after my birthday. To add on to that, my mother's death anniversary is 2 weeks after my birthday, so needless to say, I was a complete wreck for a few months. Dean had been the one to encourage me to break up with my then boyfriend, and Dean told me I was better off without him. In fairness, I'm grateful I listened to Dean, and he was 100% correct about that ex. A few months later, I had met another boy. A 16 male, we'll call him Mick, who I connected with quickly. And when I had rambled to Dean and Austin about Mick, Dean had asked me what his full name was. At the time, I hadn't found it strange, so I had told him. But a few days later, Mick approached me and asked if I really did know Dean, and why Dean had been so adamant on Mick not talking to me. I felt a mix of anger and confusion, but I remained friends with Mick and didn't bring him up to Dean anymore, nor mention why Dean had talked to him. Yeah, let's just highlight with this paragraph. She's not dating Mick. She's just friends with him. Maybe there's a spark, but it hasn't been official or evolved into that yet. And Dean is already trying to gatekeep this woman's autonomy with humans. He's acting like a bouncer at a nightclub, but the nightclub's actually a cafe and he's just a homeless person. A while later, Dean and Austin started going out to the movies once a week with their friends, and they had invited me along. I met their friend, who was closer to my age than the others, 21 male, we'll call him Matt. And Matt and I had bonded great. We instantly hit it off, and I did find myself getting a bit of a crush on him. But I wasn't going to act on it in any way. I enjoyed simply being Matt's friend and teasing him for simple and stupid things. Yesterday, Dean and Austin took me to the movies, and Matt and another friend of theirs was waiting for us. Dean teased me about being cutesy with Matt when we had our usual back and forth banter, and I denied it entirely. So throughout the whole night, Dean kept implying that I had a thing for Matt. While it was true, I still didn't need everyone knowing, and I didn't know how Dean even knew when I treated Matt the same as I treated Dean and Austin. Well, when we got back home, I thanked Dean for bringing me along, and Dean had told me he pulled Matt aside and explained to him that me and Matt could never be a thing. He also added that if he found out Matt was trying to get with me later, both Dean and Austin would unalive him. So I know Austin plays into the protective older brother persona, but I also know that Austin wouldn't care if I dated his friend because they're people he approves of. Dean, however, I don't know why he would have said this. He's never been overprotective of me or anything until pretty much last night. So at this point, I'm more confused than ever. Do I confront Dean? Do I reach out to Matt and try to figure things out? I also feel like I can't really explain this to Austin, since I'm afraid he'll think I'm overthinking things. What do I do? Another edit to say, I would like to add that Matt has never flirted with me in any shape or form. All of our conversations have been purely platonic, and I talk to Matt the same way I talk to Austin. I can understand where the confusion may have been coming from though. So understandably creepy behavior from Dean here. But there is the fact to consider that Dean and Austin know Matt better than the OP. Sure, he's a good, reliable friend, but is he someone who's good to be in a relationship with, especially someone who is currently dealing with grief themselves and has slight trauma themselves with a relationship that they don't think Matt is actually a good fit for in terms of you being able to move past that. Maybe Matt is a bit of a playboy himself. On the other hand, Dean might be a groomer, so, maybe it's the more simpler option. Obviously, people question the weird part of a 40-year-old man hanging out with children, to which the OP does find it kind of weird, but if her brother trusts him, then she guesses it can't be that bad. Even Jeffrey Dahmer had friends. He's not such a great person. And just because he hasn't hit on you yet doesn't mean he's not waiting until you're 18. Another comment asked the same thing, that he's probably waiting around, to which the OP did respond at the time. He tells me a lot about his ex-fiancée he was with for 6 years. She's currently 23, and if I did my math correctly, those numbers make me want to reach out to her and ask what happened. It almost makes me wonder if I remind him of the ex-fiancé, since he has compared us so many times.
Oh, honey, you are on the ball with that.
She's 23 now after being together for 6 years. He was literally dating her when she was 17, and he was, 34? But no, that's fine. As we all know, the saying goes, to find the socially acceptable age to date someone is get your age, half it, and then hide from the police. So, update time. How do things go 5 days later? So to start, I talked with my friend Mick thoroughly about what all Dean had said to him. I had asked to see the texts, and Mick obligated. From what I saw, Dean had convinced him to stop talking to me because I was already busy enough. I work at a part-time job and do backstage crew for theater. I am not too overwhelmed for relationships or friendships, and that I was already talking to someone. Awkwardly, I told Mick the real story and everything that had happened. For the time being, I'm keeping Mick as just my friend, but I urged him to block Dean from every platform of social media. I haven't tried to reach out to Matt about if or what Dean had said to him was true, but I did reach out to Dean's ex-fiancée, 23 female, we'll call her Brit. I was a bit surprised she had gotten back to me, as I had assumed she didn't like me whenever she visited Dean. They're in contact still, only for the sake of their 4-year-old child they have together. So we talked extensively about Dean, where she had met him, and whatever else I could think of. Unfortunately, Dean wasn't lying about when he met Brit. They met when she was 17. He'd taken her under his wing and began dating her when she was 18. 18. He got her pregnant when she was 20. When I talked to her about my own experiences about Dean, she had seemed confused on how I was so close to Dean. From what he told her, Dean had said that I never really wanted anything to do with him, and I was already out and running around with my friends whenever he came back home. Truthfully, Dean's always invited me to hang out with him and watch him play video games, with or without Austin. It was like that for months, so I don't know why he would have lied about my friendship with Dean. He talked me down from anxiety attacks and nights where all I wanted to do was cry. Britt seemed uneasy. She asked if Austin knew, to which I said yes. She asked me later if I wanted to stay with her for a few nights, with her gaining permission from Austin. I checked in with Austin before I agreed. I'm ashamed to admit that I was surprised Britt had been truthful about her contact with Austin, but he agreed, so that's where I am now. Britt hasn't been cold toward me at all, and we shared an awkward laugh over how Dean had told us both that neither of us would like the other. I wish I had reached out to Britt sooner. She's made me realize that maybe I don't know Dean as well as I do. Now, a comment in my previous post made the suggestion of bringing up a new boyfriend around Dean. I brought the fake boyfriend into most conversations I had with Austin and Dean, or just Dean. He always seemed a bit annoyed, bugging me for his name and all that. I had lied and told Dean that I was staying at the fake boyfriend's house while I stayed with Britt. The night before I left, he seemed restless, and he kept asking Austin if he had any beer left or sleep medicine since he
Knew I wasn't going to sleep at all tonight.
Now I don't know what to do. I want to tell Austin, and Britt had strongly urged me to, but I don't want to ruin Austin and Dean's friendship. They're insanely close, and they love each other dearly. I'm worried about what losing Dean will do to Austin. I don't want him to think he's alone in any way. I know he'll want to murder Dean if he even thought that Dean was trying anything with me, and I obviously don't want Austin to get in trouble. I'm just so worried about Austin. I don't know what to do. I'll keep updating this thread. Not gonna lie, I kind of freaked out that was the end, but thank God there's a resolution. The final update, another 5 days later. Or a few days later, my bad. Britt and I took Austin out to a small corner cafe in our town, not far from home. Britt and Austin did some casual catch-up and whatnot before I began telling Austin everything. I told Austin about how Dean had been putting himself into my relationships and how he had lied to me about so many different major things. What I would like to add from the past that I haven't mentioned in the previous 2 posts is how Dean would make so many comments on how I looked, sometimes several in the same day. The closer we got, he got more touchy. He wouldn't touch me somewhere that made me uncomfortable. He would just poke my shoulder a lot to annoy me or ask for hugs.
Where's my hug?
I never really thought anything of the gestures because Austin treated me the same. Minus the hugs. He isn't very affectionate. I've always just ignored comments and compliments about how I've looked, so I didn't really think about it. But it was always when Austin wasn't around. There was once where Dean had moved his hand to my hip when we were watching a movie, but it didn't escalate. Thank God. I confessed everything to Austin and showed him my evidence. Britt backed me up, and while I wished Mick was present with me to show his evidence, my brother doesn't really like any of my friends, so I knew Mick wouldn't have been welcomed. Britt also revealed her true age when she had met Dean and later Austin as well. Well, Austin looked crushed, then furious. I expected him to be mad, but not also hurt. Truthfully, I was terrified he was going to blame me for the attention, but he didn't. I know my brother better than anyone, so my overthinking was really stupid yet again. He asked me how long it had been going on for, and I told him it had started after I broke up with the ex who cheated on me. He wanted to know why I didn't tell him, and I told him I knew how much his friendship with Dean meant to him, so I wouldn't interfere with that. He got angry and said that he would have taken my safety over his friendship 100 times over. He apologized and seemed truly crushed. I still feel bad about ruining his friendship with Dean, but Austin had been insistent that he wouldn't miss Dean anytime soon, and I wasn't to blame for anything. I got to give my brother a real, genuine hug for the first time in months. I usually only get a real hug when it's our mother's death date anniversary, or it's one of our birthdays. I went home with Austin that night, who instructed me to stay in my room until he told me it was alright to come back out. He figured that if I had gone to Britt's, Dean would have come crawling back to her when Austin kicked him out, and Austin wanted Dean nowhere near me. There was a lot of yelling, and Austin threw the phrase, "freaking pedophile," rail a lot at Dean. Dean didn't yell at Austin, only calmly tried to talk him down before Austin interrupted him and told him he had 20 minutes to get his stuff and get out of the house before Austin would start beating the hell out of him. Austin came and collected me roughly 15 minutes later, and I spent a lot of the night by his side. We watched horror movies on the couch and made stupid jokes about the movies. Britt had called Austin, but it was only to let him know that Dean had turned up at her doorstep and he had made the right call. Dean had pleaded with Britt for him to stay with her, but she rejected and confessed that I had been in contact with her for a few days. She knew everything, and he wouldn't be allowed anywhere near her or his son ever again. She confessed that she didn't know where Dean was exactly, but the most probable story was that he was living in his car, so here we are. This all was a few days ago. I blocked Dean's number and Austin did the same. Britt stopped by a few times with her kid, checked up on both of us and letting Austin spend time with the kid. I'm glad he'll have a better father figure in his life now. Austin hasn't been as open about sharing his friends with me now, which I can live with. Britt's the only one I'm still in good contact with. Austin was almost considering having me quit my job at our local gas station in case Dean showed up, but I put my foot down on that. I never work alone, and most of the co-workers I share shifts with are men, so I'll be just fine. I promised Austin I would talk to my boss about the situation and to make sure I'm not alone, especially on night shifts, and that if he does show up, I don't have to deal with Dean. For now, I think that's everything. Thanks for sticking with me on this really weird ride. Now, I'll be honest, this third update does feel a bit convenient of a conclusion, I'd say. But I mean, that said, it's also rather believable in terms of how it all plays out. But at the end of the day, it's not like we really have any verification system of sorts, so whether it's fake or not doesn't detract from the fact that it's still entertaining and insightful to read about other people's lives, whether they're slightly exaggerated or truthfully honest or complete bullshit. Either way, let me know your thoughts below. We're now going to duck over to Ask Me Anything, where a rare occurrence occurs of a Reddit post both saving a life and solving a crime. It all began when Upset Zucchini here over a year ago posted this Ask Me Anything post. Basically, I have a stalker. Ask me anything. After coming across someone saying that they once stalked as an AMA earlier, they thought they might be interested in getting the other side, as they were a 27-year-old female, have had a stalker since 2018. He's around 40, of course he is. I only know his first name and would never have had any closer contact with him. I've had no help from the police so far. And of course, people were engaging with this Ask Me Anything, and the OP was willingly informative. His stalking manifests itself primarily through letters or gifts in my mailbox or on my car. I actually have some of that every week. At the beginning, I often saw him walking around on the street in front of my window, but now the blinds are almost always closed, and I try to pay less attention because I don't want to let him make me paranoid 24/7. But I know he's there more often, because the presents he leaves me are often things he fishes out of my trash. So I thank him. He must have seen me taking them out. For a while, he kept taking photos of my house, my car, etc., and left them for me. There were also photos of me from a certain distance. About a year ago, I got a photo of myself in front of my apartment door, just opening it very close. That really scared me. I actually thought I would be really careful when traveling alone, but if he had wanted to do something to me at that moment, I have no idea how it would have ended. How did it begin? Well, in 2018, I took the same tram as him every day. The last two stations, there were usually very few or no other people left in there, apart from the two of us. He tried to talk to me several times, but I didn't feel like talking to any guys after work, so I mostly brushed him off. So yes, a lot of info she is happily sharing to us all. If the English seems a bit weird, that's because it's currently using Google Translate to translate all this because this is another country. But now 3 weeks after that post, she heads over to the Let's Not Meet subreddit, where it turns out I posted about my stalker on Reddit and he found it. After a quick paragraph updating on everything we've already read. So about 3 weeks ago, I discovered the German version of r/askmeanything and thought that people might want to know about what it's like to have a stalker. Since I barely use any social media aside from Reddit and have no personally identifying information here, I didn't think he'd ever see it. One person even asked, does he know you're putting him on blast on Reddit? And I answered, maybe. Maybe it would make him angry, maybe he'd be turned on. Don't know, don't care. Well, I know the real answer now. He did see it, and he did not like it. Like I said, he was never aggressive and never came close to me. The closest I know of was when he sent me a picture of myself unlocking my apartment door taken from the corner of the steps above. Sorry if that makes no sense. I don't know how else to explain. But I consider myself a pretty vigilant person, and I'm thinking that he might have hid a camera there instead of being there to take the photo himself. I think I would have noticed him if he did. I don't know how he got wind of the AMA, but he did. The next week was quiet. No letters, and I didn't see him anywhere. Then, he left me letters with printed out questions and my answers from the AMA. He also left me a long, hateful letter towards my boyfriend about the issue I had posted on the German version of Am I the A-hole? His letters were never hateful like that before, though he never seemed happy with my boyfriend. He wrote about how I should share the spotlight with him since I got so much attention thanks to him. A few days later, I got a gift, but this time, he didn't leave it in my mailbox or at my car like he usually did. No, this time, he left it inside the apartment building right in front of my door. I didn't take it inside my apartment, but opened it outside. It was a pretty big box, which was also unusual, and it was taped shut. As I'm typing it out, I realized that wasn't a good idea at all and could have ended badly for me, but luckily he didn't send me a bomb or anything. He did, however, send me several zip ties, a roll of tape, the kind you use to tape off walls when painting, nothing you could use to restrain someone, a TV remote with most buttons picked off, a pack of band-aids with a few used ones, though not actually. Just made to look that way, according to the police. And a framed picture of me. I could tell the picture was taken a few days ago and my boyfriend was next to me but cut out of the photo. The frame was shattered and the package was full of glass shards, clearly more than just what could have fallen out of the frame, and they were also intentionally put inside the crumbled newspaper that was stuffed in there to keep it all in place. So I called the police right away and gave it to them. They were more concerned this time, finally. Thanks, and told me they'd send patrol cars more frequently. He didn't show up or leave me any letters or gifts for about another week and a half, but 8 days ago, it started again. I found letters in my mailbox where he wrote about how he wasted his time on me, how I haven't been appreciating his effort, how he was wrong about me being special. Well, 5 days ago, I left my apartment in the morning and I heard a crunch sound as I stepped on my doormat. He put broken glass under it in the night. I went off to work because I was in a hurry and was just going to make my boyfriend call the police, but then I found my car had also been vandalized. The sides were scratched, lights smashed, and the windshield had a phrase painted on. It's time soon. Miss OP, obviously in German. I went back inside and called the cops myself. They found the same phrase on a note under the doormat. This time, they really took me seriously. Which might have been because I was just peed off at this point, which I made very clear. If, for some reason, you're like me and just too stubborn to be afraid of a stalker like mine, then all of this, the letters, gifts, photos, even the damn glass under my doormat, it's just really annoying and inconvenient. But my car was useless to me now, and the threat scared even me. I did, however, have a dash cam in my car, and it caught everything. The police said that they took the footage as evidence, even though the dashcam footage wasn't of high quality, and I had given them photos of him that were just as good before, but they said it's not enough. Then they told me they'll look into it further and promised to send more patrol cars again. Then it was quiet for 2 more days. Until 2 days ago. Someone rang the doorbell at just after 4 a.m. My boyfriend and I got up, but we were both hesitant. But I saw blue lights outside, and just as I got up, I heard them shouting, "This is the police! Please open the door!" They told us they were called by one of our downstairs neighbors, who came home from his night shift about an hour earlier and heard someone else enter the building after them before the door fell shut. My neighbors know of my situation, and I've asked them to make sure they don't let strangers into the building. This neighbor then went into his own apartment and looked through the peephole. We have motion-activated lights in the stairway, so he waited to see if they turned back on, and they did. Then he saw a middle-aged man walk upstairs. Above this neighbor are only me and my boyfriend and a single mom with 3 kids who probably won't be getting any visitors at 3 a.m. So he called the police. They came and found my stalker 1/2 floor above me on the stairs. He should have been able to see the cop car since there's a little window up there and they had their lights on, but he either missed them or wanted to get caught. They found a pocket knife on him and he confessed to being my stalker right away. He's finally caught. They got him. It took 4 years, a provocative Reddit post, and one very vigilant and caring neighbor, but he's finally done. For now, at least. He's facing several charges, and I've collected every single piece of evidence over the past 4 years. I don't know what kind of outcome I can expect, but for now, I finally got some peace. And in some wholesome edits, I already wrote this in a comment, but I genuinely cannot stop thinking about it. Today, at 9:30 p.m., for the first time in over a year, I took out the trash by myself in the dark. My boyfriend always did it just to be safe, but today, I had nothing to worry about. And if this story ain't a comforting reminder why it's so nice to sometimes, as a guy, be so commonly unwanted and undesired in this world. A completely self-indulgent and twisted way to take this story, but it truly is a shame that there are men out there like this that just make the world so unsafe for women to do something as simple as household chores like taking out trash. But anyway, with that wholesome ending, I think it's fair to say we can end this video and not be reminded of the disgusting first story. So anyway, I hope you be good, love your face, and see you next time. Bye-bye.